Once upon a time, a great monk lay on his deathbed. He called his successor, a young monk, close to him, and said, "Remember one thing, never allow a cat in your life." Then, the great monk closed his eyes and passed away. A large crowd had gathered to listen to the last words of this revered master. Everyone was surprised to hear this unusual advice. The young successor himself was puzzled. He wondered, why should I never allow a cat in my life? What does that mean? After the master's cremation, which was performed with all the traditional rituals, the young monk couldn't stop thinking about his last words. In the monastery, there was also an old monk. He had been with the master for many years and had witnessed his life closely. However, he was not chosen as successor because he was very old and nearing death. One day, seeing the young monk deep in thought, the old monk approached him and asked, "What troubles you, my friend?" The young monk shared the mystery of the master's last advice. The old monk smiled gently and said, "My dear friend, you do not know the full story behind those words." Then he began to narrate the story in detail. When their master first renounced his wife, children, and home, he went into the jungle to live a life of solitude and meditation. He settled near a small village. The villagers were happy to have a monk living nearby, so they built a small bamboo cottage for him. The monk owned only 2 clothes. One day, some rats came into his cottage and began chewing his clothes. This was a great difficulty for the monk because those were the only clothes he had. If the rats continued, the clothes would soon be torn to pieces. He asked the villagers for advice. They said, "Why don't you keep a cat? The cat will keep the rats away." This seemed like a perfect solution. So the villagers gave him a cat, and indeed the cat kept the rats away. But soon a new problem arose. The cat needed to be fed. The monk had to go to the village several times to beg for milk for the cat. He returned to the villagers and asked for their advice again. The villagers said, "This is a small village. The best thing to do is keep a cow. We can give you a good cow. That way you will become more independent. You can have enough milk for yourself and the cat." This made sense to the monk, so a beautiful cow was brought to him. Now the problem was that the cow needed grass and someone to care for it. Every day the monk had to go to the village to beg for grass. People said, "It doesn't look right. A great monk begging for grass." The monk said, "But what else can I do? How else will I feed my cow and cat?" The villagers offered a solution. One woman in the village has become a widow. Her husband died, and she has no one. If we persuade her, she will be happy to serve a monk like you. You won't have to come every day for grass. We will clear some land beside your hut for her to grow grass and crops, and she will care for you in sickness and health. The monk thought this was a good idea and agreed. The villagers persuaded the woman, who accepted immediately. She began caring for the monk's cottage, cow, and cat, and started growing crops near his hut. She worked tirelessly for the monk. The monk started helping her with the work. Together they cultivated the fields. Slowly the crops grew. In time, the monk and the woman fell in love. She was beautiful and he was young. They lived together in one cottage. What more could one want? After some time, the woman became pregnant and a child was born. One day the monk reflected, "What is this? I had renounced my family, home, and the worldly life. Yet here I have it all again." This change came so slowly that he had not noticed it until the child was born. All this happened just because of the cat. The old monk then said, "This is why your master said never allow a cat in your life. The cat is a symbol. It means never give your mind even a little leverage, because slowly and imperceptibly it will dominate you." If we look at our own lives, we see this pattern often. We allow our minds to indulge in something we know is wrong, thinking, "I will do this once, then stop." But once the mind is given even a small foothold, it takes more and more without us realizing. We become addicted to bad habits, just like the monk who renounced the world, but by trying to protect 2 clothes kept a cat, then a cow, then a woman, and eventually returned to worldly life. For example, many try drugs just once for curiosity or fun, then they try again. Slowly addiction forms. Others know junk food is unhealthy, but try it once. Then it becomes a frequent habit, harming their health. People sometimes watch just one episode of TV or scroll social media for a minute, but lose hours in their focus. A person might say, "I'll just have a little anger," but it grows into harsh words and broken relationships. The lesson is clear. It's easier to prevent a bad habit from starting than to break free later. Guard your mind carefully. Don't allow even the smallest temptation to take hold. Because that cat, that small weakness, will slowly take over your life and lead you far from your true path. When faced with temptation, ask yourself, am I inviting a cat into my life? Will this choice lead me toward freedom or back into chains? Remember the story of the monk and the cat. If this story resonates with you, share it with someone who needs this reminder. Stay strong, guard your mind, and never allow the cat to rule your life.